Good evening. Welcome to the forecast discussion for February 10th, 2014. It's currently 1 p.m. We have temperatures ranging from the upper teens to lower 20s over the interior and mid to upper 20s along the coast, running anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below normal for this time of year. Yes, it's cold. The good news is that this cold pattern is going to come to an end. The bad news is we're going to have to wait to the end of the month, and we're going to deal with another major winter storm. So let's dive into the details here. The good news is that high pressure is generally in control. We have a few scattered flurries out there, nothing really major going on. A few isolated flurries coming off of the Great Lakes, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and of course we have a disturbance to our south producing a few scattered snow showers, but nothing significant in nature at all. On the infrared satellite picture, you can see that 1025 millibar high in control and the 1037 millibar high waiting in the wings over the northern plains with plenty of cold air around. Temperatures today will basically hold in the mid to upper 20s today and then fall off into the lower to mid teens by tomorrow morning as high pressure moves over the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. On the water vapor satellite picture, this is key. Let's really dive into this here because here's the first disturbance and here's the second disturbance for our major storm. And these two are going to dive towards the Gulf of Mexico, intensify, phase, and lift up the East Coast. However, this upper level low we have to watch because the position of this upper level low would determine just how close to the coast this storm actually gets on Wednesday into Thursday. That's the whole forecast here. The track of the low pressure system tells us who gets the heavy snow, who, if anyone, has a mix over to rain, and if the storm misses completely. That option's still there. I know a lot of people aren't talking about it, but it's still there. And the reason why you have to consider it is because of a lack of sampling over here in the Northern Pacific. With that being the case, we have to be very mindful that that option is still on the table. I think that possibility is becoming less and less of a threat, and more likely we're going to see a major winter storm impact the region on Thursday with heavy snow and possibly heavy snow changing over to rain along the coast. This is a storm we got to watch and use some extreme caution so that we don't overhype this situation. Yes, there's a potential for heavy wet snow here, and there's a potential for a significant snowfall. But I think it's too early to put out snow maps or to use model guidance snow maps or anything of that nature. Wait 24 hours. Let's get a little bit more better sampling of this disturbance here and this disturbance here, which we'll get starting with the model runs going on right now and continuing on through tonight. And by tomorrow morning, we'll have a real good handle where the storm is and what it's going to be able to do and what track it will take. Patience is always key. That way you don't create a lot of confusion in the forecast overall. So let's take a look at this model guidance. Going to use the GFS model guidance from the Penn State eWall. The GFS model guidance here. I want to throw a few caveats out here. First of all, this is not my model of choice, but I think it's the best model to show all the errors that could be evolving with this potential storm. The model of choice right now for me would be the European or the Canadian model guidance, but sometimes it's important to see a model that's not doing so well so you can kind of pick out the errors and kind of look beyond all the model guidance and all the hoopla and enhanced potential for snowfall here and kind of point out some of the aspects that could be missing here in the forecast. So again, for this afternoon, pretty straightforward. Temperatures in the mid to upper 20s along the coast. Sky cloud cover. A few snow showers here and there. Nothing too significant. Tonight and to tomorrow morning, temperatures fall into the single digits to lower teens over the interior, lower to mid teens along the coast. And tomorrow, high pressure will be in control with scattered cloud cover and temperatures rebounding into the lower to mid 20s throughout the region. Again, pretty chilly out there, well below normal for this time of year. Now, we continue to remain with tranquil weather conditions through Wednesday. Really until Wednesday afternoon, high pressure is generally in control. Now, notice where the high pressure system is. It's clearly giving way. This is not a textbook snow potential situation. This is kind of what I call thread the needle, where everything has to go and set up just right to give the coastal plain a heavy snowfall, and even the interior a heavy snowfall, because everything has to work together just right. For me, this, which is showing up in the model guidance, is a huge warning sign. Okay, this is why you have to be very careful because details, the devil's in the details here. Because if this is too flat, this trough has no time to go negative. And that's the whole forecast right there. And that's something that a lot of people aren't talking about. That's why the models are shifting west and east and west and east, doing 50-mile jumps, 100-mile jumps, back to 50 miles to the west, creating all sorts of different solutions because it's trying to handle what's going on in the Pacific. And if you don't understand that, then then basically you're going to be following the models all over the place and falling all over yourself until the models lock onto a solution. Which is why I'm waiting until tomorrow afternoon to put out a snow map because that's when the best sampling is going to be. That's when we'll have a really good idea of exactly what this trough out here in the Pacific is going to do and how it influenced the ridge and thus how it influenced this storm. That's why it's important not to get ahead of yourself. In the meantime, in the Atlantic, yeah, we have a somewhat favorable pattern. It's not perfect though, because if it was perfect, this would be a little bit further to the west. This ridge would be sustained, excuse me, and this high pressure system would not be sliding off the Atlantic. You'd be locked in right over the St. Lawrence River Valley, excuse me. So we do have a pretty impressive CADE set up here, cold air damming. So we have the cold air locked in. It's just that it's not going to be able to stay locked in this type of scenario. So moving forward, here we are by Wednesday night. The snow starts to push into the region. Everyone starts off as snow. Then, as we get towards Thursday morning, this low pressure system moves up the coast and rapidly intensifies. How much does it intensify? That depends on how much this trough can go negative, what's happening out here in the west, and whether this trough could really dig. If it does dig, then the low pressure system explodes. However, depending on how close it is to the coast, it could draw in a lot of warm air. So let's say southern New Jersey, you go over the rain. Long Island, you go over the rain. New York City, you go over the rain. But if it's a little bit further east, the precipitation may not be that heavy, but you stay all snow, a heavy wet snow. How much snowfall? Don't know yet. That's the honest truth. Because until we really nail down the track and the ability for that cold air to stay locked in, we really don't have a good handle on the situation. And one little aspect here that we really have to keep an eye on is this disturbance right here throwing a huge wild card. This disturbance needs to be watched because if it's able to dive a little bit south, if this trough is able to dig more southwest, this ridge builds up a little bit, and this disturbance in the back end kicks in, that changes the whole dynamics of the storm, and hello, Arctic air. So there's a lot of factors here that we need to really sit back and watch and really evaluate before we start jumping the gun. This could be a major blockbuster winter storm on Thursday, or it could be a miss. And it really depends on three factors really coming together and interacting with this whole storm. What happens in the Pacific with this trough to the west of British Columbia? How does that influence the ridge? How does this Arctic disturbance influence this trough? And does this trough here have enough time to go negative to really allow this storm to blow up? You're going to see a variety of different solutions out there and a lot of hype about this storm. Yes, the storm's coming. Yes, you should be mindful of the storm. Be prepared to change your plans if you need to. I think coastal flooding will be a problem, especially with a full moon on the way. So these are factors here that we really have to take into consideration. But we need to wait before we start to dial up where all the details are going to be and what the influences will be on this storm. So basically, Thursday, very stormy day. The good news is that once the storm leaves, hey, the pattern starts to kind of dial back a little bit. We have one clip moving through on Friday, a few isolated snow showers. Temperatures, though, return to normal. We've returned basically to near normal through the rest of the week and into next weekend, with temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 30s for highs, lower to mid 20s for lows, and generally a tranquil weather pattern in place with a few disturbances passing through, but nothing of a major winter storm. And you can see we start to shift a little bit more to a bit more of a zonal pattern here. I think this is more set up more for the 20th. I think this is a little fast, but you get the idea here. We get through this major winter storm, and then we start to see pattern changes take a hold, and the winter start to dial back a bit. So I'll be keeping an eye on this storm, keeping an eye on how it evolves. By tomorrow, we'll have a much better feel of what to expect of the storm. Snow maps will be out. Uh, Basic details on the storm will be out, and we'll be able to really nail down this storm with the proper data. Well, of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. As always, stay safe out there.